How you doing? I'm George, the cartoon commentator, and we're going to be starting off today with Chuck Jones's Rapid Fire, a short feature he made in 1951, and it's the start of his hunting trilogy. 3 shorts that he made in 51, 52, and 53 dealing with Bugs and Daffy, and their encounters with Elmer Fudd. The strange thing is, I think this might be the first time these two iconic characters were ever together, at least in this way, dealing with a hunter. Daffy was usually paired up with Porky, and Daffy usually played a much more zany Daffy character. That was his original conception. But the way Chuck Jones utilized him was a id to Bugs Bunny. He's sarcastic, he's very, very selfish and self-important, looking out for himself. And Chuck Jones has said that it was pretty much his own personality personified in Daffy, the worst parts of his personality personified in Daffy. So let's take a look at it. It's note that all these cartoons had to be exactly the same length because any second more would cause them extra time in the theater, so the producers made them be exactly 6-7 minutes long, so not an extra frame was wasted on money. It was not about art, it was about money. Story by Michael Maltese here, Chuck Jones's writer. They always sat down together to write out the scripts by themselves, just the two of them. There were no scripts, exactly, just two people working out jokes.
Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting rabbits.
Elmer Fudd speaking to the camera, something that happens in a lot of cartoons, but I feel like Chuck Jones did the best. He did it in very subtle ways, especially with Bugs. Daffy.
Oh, Bugsy! Bugsy, pal! There's a friend here to see you. Survival of the fittest. And besides, it's fun.
That's what I'm talking about. Daffy is much more conniving when Chuck Jones is dealing with him. He's not just a crazy nutball. He's very, very conniving and not exactly sinister, but playful.
Say, Doc, are you trying to get yourself in trouble with the law? This ain't rabbit hunting season.
It's not.
And this is a much later Bugs Bunny cartoon than his original shorts, where he was a lot more like Daffy, honestly. Daffy or Woody Woodpecker, which have a similar voice. He was a lot, crazier, just a crazy rabbit that would drive hunters and whoever else nuts. Now he's Bugs, sarcastic and not conniving, but very, very clever. I really like this shot of the three of them together like that. It's very Kurosawa-like blocking. The three people in frame together using, the triangular composition of a shot. And that might be the first time Daffy was shot and his bill reacted in a certain way. Something Chuck Jones utilizes in every short that he incorporates Daffy in. His bill is always doing something crazy.
Rabbit season! Rabbit season! Duck season! Fire!
Did you see Bugs' eyes a second ago? That little glance eyebrow raise to the camera? Very, very fast. If you blinked, you missed it. That's the kind of thing Bugs likes to do, that Chuck likes to do. He likes to let the audience in on the joke.
Fire! Fire! Everything's upside down. Strange. Can't make heads or tails of things.
Hey, you!
Daffy, when Chuck Jones utilizes him, is much more contemplative. He's much more thoughtful than just a crazy little character. He's
No more bullets.
very self-aware.
No more bullets. No more bullets? Here, let me see that thing.
Well, what do you know? 1 bullet left.
1 bullet left? Hey, laughing boy, there was...
I know!
Another reason I like Bugs so much is that once Daffy starts things,
Devilishly clever. Oh.
Bugs is not at all afraid to retort. Like, Bugs, whenever he starts a situation, it's very rare. Bugs is always just minding his own business when someone comes along and ruins it, And Daffy loves to play with Bugs, so... And Bugs is better at playing these games, so... He feels every right to defend himself.
Says so right over there on that sign.
Bugs was doing. He put up the original sign and then he changed it just to screw over Daffy.
You're despicable. Yes, you're despicable and pickable, and you're very definitely despicable. How a person can get so despicable in one lifetime is beyond me. It isn't as though I haven't met a lot of people. Goodness knows it isn't that. It isn't that. Goodness knows it isn't.
That rambling Daffy did as they walked over to Bugs' hole was improvised by Mel Blanc, the voice of all of these characters and all the other ones that you love. They needed a few seconds to get Bugs and Daffy away from Elmer over to Bugs' home, and Mel Blanc just improv that little ramble about being pickable and death and how a person never got to be so despicable,
Barbecue duck meat with broiled duckbill Milanese. Yummy, yum.
I know it's a cartoon, you can't apply too much logic to it, but it always bothered me a little bit that Bugs even has that book, 1,000 Ways to Cook a Rabbit. Why would Bugs have
Sorry,
it?
fellas, but I'm a vegetarian.
And that's just pure Elmer fun. He hunts for the sport of it. Although, you do see him eating food in other cartoons. Continuity was not a big deal back then. These artists did not work, these directors didn't work together a lot of times. They had very distinct styles, but rarely did they work together to form any kind of continuity between things. In fact, in this sequence, Chuck Jones had no continuity with his own work. Elmer chases them into the hole, he threatens them, and there's a gag. In this case, a gag involving an elephant gun.
Hunting rabbits with an elephant gun.
Elephant gun?
That's right, Doc. So why don't you go shoot yourself an elephant? You do, and I'll give you such a pinch.
In the next part of the hunting trilogy, the exact same situation happens. Elmer chases them into a hole, he threatens them to come out, and a different joke happens. It's almost exactly the same staging. And this happens as well in the next one, except instead of Daffy playing along and dressing up as well, Bugs shows up dressed like a woman, and Daffy can't believe his eyes. He can't believe that Elmer is that stupid to buy it. In this case, Daffy and Bugs are kind of one unit. They've joined sides, they've joined forces, which is something that doesn't happen too often with Bugs and Daffy.
Oh, shucks. Well,
This is one of my favorite Bugs as a woman moments in all the cartoons. I just like the way that in a moment his wig is going to slide aside and the ear is going to come out right there. You don't see that happen too much. His disguises are usually foolproof. I like the fact that in this cartoon, Bugs is not a god. He makes mistakes, he does things wrong, everything doesn't go perfectly.
Duck.
Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season. Rabbit season. Duck season.
Very strange ending. All three of them have very strange endings. My favorite being the third part of the trilogy, which has my favorite ending. The joke being it's baseball season. In this case, though, I just love it. The ears poking out through the hat.
Be very, very quiet. We're hunting Elmer's. Ha!
That laugh Daffy has is so maniacal. The score there leading up to this That's All, Folks, is a typical thing with one of those cartoons. It builds to a crescendo before going into the standard, merry-go-round broke down theme song. So yeah, that's Rabbit Fire, part 1 of Chuck Jones' hunting trilogy. As you saw at the beginning, he was still credited as Charles M. Jones, I believe, because the studio, the producers, weren't people who had fun. They weren't people who enjoyed cartoons, who enjoyed laughing. They were people who were very business-minded and couldn't give a darn about cartoons. They hated them. So they wouldn't let Chuck be known as Chuck. They wouldn't let Frizz Freeling be known as Frizz. They always called him I. Freeling, director of the Foghorn Leghorn cartoons, among other things. That's one of his staples. So there it is. That's the cartoon.